Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. Bruce Levine, thank you so much for joining us on the Mike Litton Experience. I really appreciate it, bud. It's great to meet you face to face finally. I know we've done deals together, that kind of thing in the past. So as we talked about a minute ago before we started this, our passion, we know that everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And so with your permission, we're going to start at the very beginning where you were born, and then we'll have you tell your life story all the way up to today, and then we'll talk about anything you'd like to talk about that's happening today and tomorrow, okay?
Great. Well, thanks for the opportunity to have me on. I'm excited about it.
I'm excited about this, bud. This is going to be a lot of fun. So tell us where you were born.
Sure. I was born in 1960 old to Jewish parents in suburban Detroit, just on the outskirts of the city, the very first suburb after 8 Mile Road.
There you go.
Name's 8 Mile. And it was a great community to grow up in. And it's still, it's much more diverse now.
Yeah.
But it's a cool neighborhood where everybody sticks together. And my parents were the children of Eastern European Jewish immigrants who came in like late 1800s, very early 1900s. So I'm a second generation American. My wife, who's Japanese American, she's a third generation American.
Wow.
and
That's
her,
really cool.
Her parents were both raised part of their lives in the internment camps during World War II. So
oh my gosh.
Having my background and she having hers, there's some of that simpatico there where we understand,
Yeah, some real synergy. So Did you grow up just outside of Detroit?
We lived in Oak Park, Michigan, just outside of Detroit until I was about 9. And then until I was 15, we lived further out. For those Detroiters who may know geography, 14 Mile and Middle Belt or so. And then in November of 75, we must have gotten like 600 feet of snow.
Oh.
I think. And my dad got on the phone. He said, "Screw it, we can't have Thanksgiving." So they bought 5 tickets to San Diego, where my aunt and uncle lived, because one of my first cousins was very ill, and the doctor said, "Go to a climate like San Diego from Detroit, so you have a better chance of surviving." So that's how we got here.
Wow. So 1975, and you were how old?
At the time in 75, I was 15. We actually moved here in June of 76, so I would have just been 16 years old.
There you go. There you go. So did you move to San Diego in particular, or was it?
Let's see, my folks, well, at first we stayed at the old Hanalei Hotel.
Oh, there you go.
Which we thought was the Ritz.
Oh, yeah.
Swimming pool and shuffleball courts. And I met Coach John Wooden having breakfast there one day.
Oh my gosh.
This was like, for a sports-oriented guy, this was his blast. And my folks rented a house in Del Cerro for a year.
Okay.
During that time, they came to know the area, and they ended up buying a condo, almost a 2,500 square foot condo at St. Francis Court in Solana Beach.
Okay.
Which at the time was a working class city.
Yeah.
They were manufacturing aircraft parts and shipping them up to Lockheed Martin from Cedros up on the railway.
Lots changed since then.
Changed a little bit. Yeah, they paid $91,900 for 2,500 feet in Solana Beach.
Oh my gosh.
And interestingly, my very best friend in the world, who's an attorney, and when my wife and I got married, he was able to marry. He was legally able to marry us.
Yeah.
And well, not this month, October, but a year ago, October, that house came on the market, and I sold it to him and his wife.
Oh my gosh.
And this is a home. It's the only home I've ever owned that I have a strong emotional attachment to.
Yeah.
Every other home is disposable.
Yeah.
This one, there were some very, very special times. And so it's
Oh, sure.
my best friend on the whole planet owns it.
Well, small world, man.
It's nothing surprises me.
That's amazing. So let me ask you this. So what was your favorite thing about growing up in Oak Park?
It was Oak Park and then Farmington Hills, West Bloomfield.
Right.
My God, there were a lot of kids per square mile.
Okay.
It was a time when, during the summer, you'd be out in the street till 9 o'clock. I don't know if it was perfectly safe or not. We thought it was.
Yeah.
I kind of have to evolve the opinion that things aren't really more dangerous now. We're more fearful now. I think bad stuff happened then. It was just kept quiet. But when I was young, we played baseball like all until 9 o'clock at night because we were in a northern latitude. So light was up until 10, 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And, being part of the Detroit, not exclusively, but part of the Detroit Jewish community was very, very tight.
Okay.
And many people knew most people or families or someone in a family. And so it was a huge support system. We were to others, others were to us.
Yeah.
And that was extremely formative to me.
That's
and
cool.
It's part of who I've always been. And now that I'm older, and I think I understand it from a standpoint of finally having evolved to some level of maturity.
No,
I'm able to implement it.
that's good. That's awesome, man. So who was the most influential person to you growing up?
Growing up, that's a great question. I would say my mother, because she's the parent who understood me the best.
Okay.
Very well. However, I'm going to say it was my father's mother, my grandmother.
Okay.
You're familiar with the film A Fiddler on the Roof, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that story of the pogroms and the shtetls and the Cossacks burning homes down, that was her life. That's
Oh my
what
gosh.
experience. And I remember, going to Sunday school and being taught about this, but it's still kind of, it isn't real to a kid.
Right.
It's just sort of this vague concept and you don't really understand what it is. So they took us to see the movie at the movie theater in Sunday school. That night, as every Sunday, my dad, his 4 brothers, all 5 wives, all 18 first cousins, various other relatives and neighbors, 50, 60 people would be having dinner at my grandmother's house.
Oh, wow.
And this was like, I don't know, I probably think it was 52 Sundays a year, but it was probably like 35 Sundays a year,
Yeah.
And
wow, what an amazing experience. That's a great way to grow up.
it was incredible. And I regret that my children haven't had that opportunity, but it's just different times. But I remember one Sunday, the day that I had seen that film, I hung out with Rose in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked her, I'm saying, hey, we were at Sunday school today. We saw Fiddler on the Roof. And she goes, yeah, And so I tell her this, that. I'm all excited. And then I finally ask her a question, like a realtor. Yap, 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 yap. Finally gets around to asking a question, right?
Yeah.
And I said, is that what it was like? And all the blood, I'll never forget this. I can picture it perfectly. All the blood drains from her face. She turns halfway away and says, it wasn't that good.
She said what? I'm sorry, we lost you for a second.
She said it wasn't that good.
Oh, wow.
And and it just floored me.
Oh, yeah.
And then later, much later, when Bonnie and I got married and when I came to know her family, and I learned that both her mother's family and her father's family had trusted their best friends who were their neighbors to, they gave them cash to make mortgage payments on their houses during the weeks or months or years that they would be interned. They were good citizens. They wanted to serve in the military, but they weren't allowed. And in both cases, their neighbors took their money didn't make the mortgage payments, and then bought the houses at foreclosure on the courthouse steps with
Oh, no.
family's own money. And so I wrote a Brian Buffini style letter of the heart a few years ago.
Yeah.
And in it, I told this story.
Right.
And I think it is because so many people close to me lost their homes
Yeah.
for reasons that had nothing to do with anything other than hatred and bigotry,
Yeah.
that I find it so damn fulfilling to help people. Certainly I like listings. They bring me control and controlling of time and efficiencies, but I get a real great deal of fulfillment by helping people buy homes who think they would never be able to.
Yeah.
The
I do too.
when they're the first one in their family that's ever even come close,
Yeah.
do it. It is powerful.
It
And
is.
that's where it comes from.
Changes people's lives, man.
Yeah, I mean, not just financially,
Yeah.
because we all know about that, but it changes their lives in a way that they know their landlord can't decide to sell the house. They can put down roots. It's a place that's theirs. They can, if it's not in an HOA, they can paint the door any color they want.
Yeah. There won't be any mat pulled out from under them in this situation.
Right, and people thrive when they know they have stability like that.
Yeah. And so do children, right? So
and then
we know that.
And then that gets passed on.
Yeah.
Instead of
true.
the difficult situation you were telling me about an earlier guest, which the person who overcame extraordinary odds, but usually gets passed down and is problematic.
Yeah, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. What a story. So, okay, so you moved to San Diego and your parents buy a place in Solana Beach.
Yep.
And you're 17 at that point or 18 at that point?
Let's see. Ninth grade was in Michigan. 10th grade was at Patrick Henry. 11th, 12th grade were at Torrey Pines High School when it was still on a dirt road.
Oh my gosh.
And the term Carmel Valley meant where Roberto's is.
Right.
West of the freeway. There were at the time, the land, all the undeveloped land over on the east side was known as the North City West Project.
Yep.
Not very attractive for developers, calling it North City West.
Yeah.
And graduated from Torrey Pines, had a ball there. I was a good match for the place. It was a school that really challenged me.
Wow, that's cool.
And it was a tremendous time to be able to grow up on the North Coast. I was very, very lucky.
So when you went to my wife, by the way, full disclosure, my wife went to and graduated from Patrick Henry High School, and my mother-in-law was the Spanish teacher there.
Oh wow.
Mrs. Suarez was my mother-in-law.
That's something. That would have been something if I had one of the same teachers.
Yeah, they're wild. I've talked to a bunch of people that had her for Spanish, man. It's crazy. So you graduate Torrey Pines High School. Then what happens? Where do you go from there?
I've always been immature for my age. So went to junior college for a year. If the class was interesting to me, I was the best student in the class. If I wasn't interested, I get a D or an F.
Right.
Because I was, and it's one of those things that if you're 18 years old and you act with the maturity of a 12-year-old, it's a real problem. And if you're 27 and you're acting like an 18-year-old, it's a real problem. But when you're 62 and you act 45, it's okay.
So you're allowed.
That's what's all growing out of it.
Yeah.
But I still am someone who really only wants to be involved in people and things and activities that interest me. And now I'm finally, for a while now, I've been in a place where I can do that. And so, figuratively speaking, I get all A's now.
That's awesome, man. So you go to community college for a year.
Did that for a year, tried a semester at Arizona State, and that, bailed on that. Thought I was coming along, but I wasn't. Eventually, in 1983, 4 years after I graduated high school, a good buddy of mine was going to study radio broadcasting at San Francisco State.
There you go.
I figured, if I've got a good friend, someone will hold me accountable, even if they'd be in a different major. And it turned out I knew 3 people, not just one.
Wow.
I might just be able to pull this off. And I did. Eventually, I chased a skirt after 2.5 years and went to Northridge to finish up, which is what I did.
Oh.
Yeah. So I graduated from Cal State Northridge after 1 semester in 1987.
Gotcha. So community college, San Francisco State, then Cal State Northridge, and you graduate with a degree in
Bachelor of English.
There you go. Okay.
I'm a communicator. Am I allowed to say vociferous? I read a lot.
There you go. I love it. I love it. You have to when you're an English major, right?
I read a lot. I write a lot. I think a lot, and I like hanging out with really, really smart people.
Oh.
And I actually learned that I am, and this is going to sound dirty, but it's not. I am a sapiophile. A sapiophile is someone that can only have a romantic or a platonic relationship that works with someone who is very, very, very smart.
Wow.
And so I can be a friend to other people. I can be a good acquaintance to them. I can take care of their professional needs. But for me to be close to someone, they got to be off the charts here. I don't mean like Einstein, because nobody's like Einstein. But, yeah. And my father, he worked as an accountant for Ford in Detroit. He had pretty low self-esteem. All men marry up. My dad married up more than most people.
Right.
And when we moved to California, he wanted to be self-employed, and he had some familiarity with the building business, and the real estate business with his father-in-law in Detroit.
Okay.
But he got a broker's license while we were out there in San Diego. He stayed after we went home.
Yeah.
And then from December till June, they planned our move, and then we moved. And he opened up a Realty World franchise in Mission Valley.
Oh, I love it.
And in a year, he had offices in Lakeside, El Cajon, and Santee in a relatively short period of time. And then his partner screwed him out of everything.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was disastrous. And from then on, he worked as an independent real estate broker. I'm an independent real estate broker too.
Yeah.
He worked, he was doing 1031 exchanges before even the people who wrote the Internal Revenue Code really knew what they were.
Wow.
He liked doing real estate that was creative. He liked doing assumable loans and where people could fill the gap with boot other than things other than cash, the kind of stuff like old people like you and I understand.
Right. Creative financing with a capital C.
And I got my real estate license in 1990 in Virginia. I got married in 80. I should know this. 88.
Okay.
First time was 88, and we wanted to move to the Washington D.C. area. We settled in Alexandria, Virginia. Got my license the first time, and I had been exposed to what my dad had done.
Yeah.
I understood a lot of the industry, a lot of the vernacular and the terms, but I couldn't find anybody that I thought could help me. The basic response from every broker in town that I met with was, well, there's your desk. Here's the yellow pages. Welcome to Mount Vernon Real Estate. and
Dialing for dollars, baby.
And remember the part where I said that if I'm not interested in something?
Yep.
Yeah. So I did what any sensible person would do who was married and had a wife who was saying, dude, you better earn some money. I got a series of temp jobs.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.